Welcome to Betrayal Stories. In today's video, you'll hear a story about trust, secrets, and how a husband's quiet revenge unfolded in ways no one could have predicted. I used to think I was a good wife, maybe not perfect, but devoted in the ways that mattered. I made breakfast every morning, packed lunches, kept the house spotless, and remembered all the little things Mark liked. His favorite coffee mug, the way he liked his shirts folded, the sound of jazz music floating through the house on Sunday mornings. But underneath that tidy surface, my life was unraveling. It began so simply, so quietly, that I almost convinced myself it didn't mean anything. A friendly conversation with a colleague after work, a shared laugh, a compliment I hadn't heard in years. Liam was charming, confident, and attentive in a way Mark hadn't been for a long time. Or at least that's what I told myself. It's funny how easy it is to build excuses when your heart is looking for a way out. What started as harmless messages turned into coffee breaks, then dinners, and eventually, something far more dangerous. Every step deeper into the affair, I told myself I still loved my husband, that I was just confused. But the truth is, I was running away from the quiet comfort of my marriage toward the thrill of something that made me feel alive again. And ironically, that guilt made me a better wife. I cooked Mark's favorite meals more often. I laughed at his jokes even when I'd heard them before. I'd ask about his projects, pretending to be interested while my mind replayed the things Liam had whispered to me earlier that day. Every kiss goodbye in the morning became a performance. His trust pressed against me like a weight I couldn't shake. For a while, it worked. Mark never questioned me. He smiled, kissed me gently, and went about his day. But then, 4 months into my secret, the first crack appeared. It was a Thursday evening. I came home late, the faint scent of another man's cologne still clinging to my skin despite my desperate attempts to scrub it away. Mark was sitting on the edge of our bed, holding something small between his fingers, an earring. A simple silver stud. "I found this in the car," he said quietly. On the passenger seat, I froze. My pulse thundered in my ears. That earring was the one I'd worn to meet Liam earlier that day. The one I'd nervously removed in his car and apparently forgotten. My mind raced for an explanation. "You must have lost it this morning," Mark continued, his tone calm. "Be careful, they were a gift." I forced a smile, stammering. "Oh, thank you. I must have dropped it." He handed it back to me. His fingers brushed mine, warm and steady. But his eyes, they lingered for a moment too long, holding something deep, unreadable. And then, as if nothing had happened, he turned away and asked what I wanted for dinner. That night, as I lay beside him, I couldn't shake the feeling that something inside our marriage had shifted. It was small, but it was there, a silent tremor before an earthquake. Over the next few weeks, small things began to happen, tiny details that didn't make sense. My favorite lipstick vanished. The same shade I only wore when I met Liam. I tore through my purse, my car, even the bathroom drawers. Nothing. Then, days later, it reappeared in the exact spot I'd already searched a dozen times. I told myself I was just stressed, careless. But then the emails started. Dinner reservations I hadn't made. Hotel bookings I didn't remember. All from my email address. When I called to cancel, the customer service agent said the request had come from my verified account. I changed my password immediately, blaming a random hacker. Mark was sympathetic. "The world's full of weirdos," he said gently. "Just be careful." I wanted to believe him. I really did. Then one Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. A delivery man stood there holding a massive bouquet of white lilies, my favorite. My heart lurched. This was too much. Liam would never risk something so obvious. Hands trembling, I searched for a card. There was none. I texted him immediately. "Did you send flowers to my house?" "Please tell me you didn't." His reply came within seconds. "What? No! Are you out of your mind?" I'd never do that. The lilies sat in the hallway, beautiful and suffocating. Their fragrance filled the air like a taunt. When Mark came home, he noticed them instantly. "Wow," he said, smiling. "Who are these from?" I don't know." "No card." He chuckled softly. "A secret admirer, maybe? Whoever it is has good taste. They suit you." He kissed my forehead and walked away. But behind that gentle smile, I caught a glimpse of something else, something sharp. It wasn't jealousy. It was awareness. He knew something. I just didn't know how much. From that day on, I couldn't relax. Every sound in the house made me flinch. Every phone notification sent a spike of panic through me. Even Liam started to notice. "You're not really here anymore," he said during one of our last meetings. "You're somewhere else. Maybe back with him." He wasn't wrong. My mind was no longer with him. It was trapped in the quiet, oppressive walls of my home, searching for signs that my husband was on to me. Then came the night that changed everything. I had told Mark I'd be out of town for a work conference. It was a lie, of course. Liam and I had planned a rare 24-hour escape, a hotel far enough away to feel anonymous. For a while, everything felt normal again. We laughed, ordered room service, pretended we were two carefree people who didn't have lives built on lies. Then, at 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from Mark. "Hope the conference is going well, honey. You left your presentation notes on the kitchen counter. Want me to scan and email them to you?" My blood ran cold. There were no notes. There was no presentation. There was no conference. He knew. I tried to keep calm, typing back. "No need. I have them on my laptop." "Thanks, though." A few moments later, another message. "You sure?" There's a section highlighted in pink. Something about quarterly projections. Quarterly projections. I worked in nonprofit marketing. There were no projections. I stared at the message, my hands trembling. He was testing me, seeing how far I'd go to keep lying. "Not mine," I wrote back. And after a pause, his final text appeared. "You're right. My mistake. Have a good night. I love you." The silence that followed was deafening. I couldn't stay at the hotel. I left in the middle of the night, claiming I wasn't feeling well. The drive home felt endless. Every streetlight, every passing car made me feel like I was being followed. Because in a way I was. By my own guilt, by his knowledge, by the quiet revenge he had already begun. When I finally walked into the house, I expected chaos, shouting, accusations. But Mark was calm, sitting in his study, typing on his computer like nothing had happened. "You're home early," he said, looking up briefly. "How was the conference?" The word hung in the air like a loaded gun. "It was fine," I managed to whisper. He smiled faintly. "Good, glad to hear it. That was all. No confrontation, no yelling. Just silence, and somehow that was worse. Because silence can cut deeper than words ever could." In the days that followed, Mark became perfect, too perfect. He cooked breakfast every morning, sent sweet texts, remembered anniversaries, but behind it all was a coldness I couldn't explain. He looked at me the way a scientist studies an insect, curious, detached. My affair with Liam disintegrated almost overnight. I couldn't bear the thought of seeing him again. I ended it over the phone, my voice shaking. He called me a coward. Maybe I was. But I had bigger fears now, because the walls of my marriage were closing in, and Mark was the one tightening them. I started noticing strange, deliberate changes around the house. My books were rearranged, my favorite mug disappeared, replaced by a new one. The playlist we used to share was deleted and replaced with classical music, songs he knew I hated. Every change was subtle, calculated, erasing little pieces of me from our life together. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't hitting. He was erasing. Then came the day I realized how far his quiet war had spread. We attended a backyard barbecue at one of his co-workers' homes. It was a perfect summer day. Kids laughing, smoke rising from the grill, neighbors chatting. Mark was his usual charming self. Everyone loved him. And then, in the middle of a conversation, he said it. "Yeah, Julia's been swamped with work lately. I hardly see her anymore. Late nights, weekend projects. She's unstoppable." The men around him laughed, nodding. But his words sliced through me like a blade. He was planting a seed, crafting a narrative where I was the absent, distracted wife, and he the patient, loving husband. Later that week, my mother called. "Julia, is everything okay?" she asked gently. "Of course, Mom. Why?" "I ran into Mark at the store. He seemed sad. Said you've been busy, that you two hardly see each other anymore." I sank to the floor, phone clutched in my hand. He wasn't just manipulating me. He was reshaping the world around me, turning friends and family into silent judges, allies into skeptics. That night, I confronted him. "Why are you telling people I'm never home?" I demanded. He looked up from his book, feigning confusion. "I just said you've been busy. You have been, haven't you?" His calm tone made my anger sound irrational. He didn't need to accuse me outright. He was letting my own guilt destroy me. Weeks passed. I was a shell of myself. Sleep eluded me. Meals went untouched. Every smile from him felt like a trap. And then, one Saturday morning, his revenge reached its masterpiece. He suggested a garage sale. "Let's declutter," he said cheerfully. It sounded harmless enough. Normal, I agreed, desperate for something mundane.